Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy, and it looks like Hillary Clinton's back in the headlines for wanting censorship.
Which is not surprising at all, but there she is. And one of our last stories might be that the France's first lady might not be a lady after all.
Yeah, we've been talking about this Candace Owens thing, and It's coming out more and more. It looks like she was right. But before we get into it, thanks for anybody that watched my afternoon show. It was a complete failure. I'm really trying to redo the new set. Tons of audio issues. So I'm slow.
Which I tried to fix on the fly.
There was a lot of confrontation on that show, to say the least. We're slowly going to get it fixed throughout the week. So if you want to enjoy somebody failing, you can watch me on my pop culture show in the afternoons. Okay, let's get right into it.
And if all of a sudden the live ends without us saying goodbye, it means the light went out again. So we live in Mexico City, and there's a giant storm outside, so the lights tend to come in and out sometimes. But we'll try to reconnect if we can.
Yeah, it's been tons of rain lately.
Yes.
Not as bad as Texas.
Thunder and not as bad as Texas.
But still pretty bad. We're protected by the mountains, so I don't think we usually get as bad as the coast.
There's a lot of flooding, but no. There are hurricanes still moving around.
Let's get into the first story here.
So, from Joe Rogan Podcast News, not from Joe Rogan, says Hillary Clinton, if social media doesn't moderate content, then we lose total control. Saying the quiet part out loud there, Mrs. Clinton.
And she's been saying things in this similar vein for quite a while now, but...
And we also see, what's the one that is called like a villain? Ursula
von der Leyen. Yeah, the German EU chancellor.
The EU and a bunch of other ones. But let's hear her say it.
The platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
It's real harm to the establishment, sure.
Yeah, and they were monitoring and controlling the content. If we remember, the FBI was giving emails and notifications to Facebook, to X. The Twitter files came out and showed all these emails, showed all this total control they were trying to have, and that's how the Democratic Party maintained their control. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have a little bit of freedom now. I mean, as we go further and further, it's seeming like there's less and less censorship even on YouTube, which is great because that's our main platform.
Yeah, and I mean, the YouTube thing might be because they're trying to bring in more and more like mainstream media, so they have to be able to say some of the words that usually they want censored just to talk about stories in the real world. But there is less censorship, but I don't want to get like a false sense of security because they will do everything they can. Because we know that's how they maintain control over populations, by telling them what and how and where to think and speak, etc.
We do head over to RUMBLE at the end of every show for 2 or 3 stories that are usually a little bit too hot for YouTube, but also because we want to get the audience used to following us over there in case there is an emergency for things that we can't speak about openly here on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Still.
Okay.
Yes, but again, it's not surprising. It's not new. She said similar things before, but it's interesting to hear it, coming straight from the witch's mouth. The fact that that's why they want to be able to control and censor people, because it does give them inordinate power over the population. If the population cannot talk to each other freely and show each other evidence, etc. I mean, just on Tim Pool today, they were talking about, for example, a very dumb example, but with Donald Trump and...
What's the example?
Shinzo Abe, the Japanese prime minister or president.
Yeah, what's the example?
The example is when the President Trump, they showed just him throwing a bunch of koi fish food into the koi pond, and they cut what the president had just done of Japan, who did the exact same thing. And then they were saying, oh, Donald Trump is so dumb. He just dumped it all over the place when he was just copying what the Japanese president was doing, or prime minister.
Yeah, we're seeing this happen in pop culture a lot as well, with the mainstream rags kind of doing alternative stories. There was a Superman cancellation where they're saying there's tons of politics in this thing. Alternative media was kind of relying on the mainstream press because they're the only ones that had access to the movie. And come to find out, it's not a political movie at all. And the independent media is now changing their stance on that movie, which is very good. So... I talked a little bit about that this morning. Not the best audio, so even if you watch it back, you might not get my take.
Rafa says, hello, happy Friday to you too. Thank you for being here.
That's one of the people that actually did watch my morning show,
thank you, Rafa.
even with all the audio issues.
But he did try to help us and say what was going wrong. I knew what was going wrong, but I was trying to fix it.
But the set did look good, so I was happy with the set.
Let
just
us know
not
if
the
you
audio.
like the set for the morning show.
I did.
I'm asking everybody else. You're not the one that watches it.
I'm the one that built it.
Rafa says, we lose total control of whom? Well, of everybody, of their population, of almost themselves as well. Because that's how they keep each other in check.
Here's the scary thing. If they are able to wait Donald Trump out, the Democrats can somehow get back in the office, even though the United States is going towards more and more free speech and independent media. We see the EU, we're seeing Canada, Australia, all the countries in the global south going away from free speech. So if whoever gets in control in the US next, if they also follow the EU or Canada and get rid of free speech, there will be no countries left with free speech. Right now, it really seems like America is leading the way with that.
Which is hilarious because it was like a fundamental principle also of the classical liberalism that came out of England, and that which, I mean, the founding fathers kind of copied and saw as something very important to be able to combat a king coming back into power. And the fact that now the kings, the Clintons, for example, want to go back to that, ironically, as they support the No Kings protests, is just the cherry on top of the cake.
Well, I think that's kind of what's irking everybody. A lot of people were raised with these fundamental liberal values of free speech, free movement, things like this. At least that's what we were told those values were. And now they're telling you, well, no, those were never the values. Like, what are you talking about? And then once the liberals kind of abandoned those values, the new conservative populist wave picked them up, and a lot of the traditional liberals now lie in that conservative traditional camp, which is kind of touting free speech as their fundamental principle. Because
they started realizing how important it was also, especially if you want more of a conservative in the political current ideology sense. If you want a more conservative government, you have to be able to make the government smaller and have less control of people, not more. So free speech helps to do that because it helps the population keep the power in check, not just the power keeping itself in check, which ends up turning into corruption.
Yeah. Okay.
But speaking of liberals that turned the other cheek, Nicole Shanahan just published the Dark Maha report. This is from Holden Kuloda. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's a bombshell. Deep state elites have run top secret geoengineering projects since the 1950s. They have advanced tech for mass psychological manipulation.
And the Canadian military actually admitted to implementing this on the Canadian public during the pandemic. Afterwards, there's documents that came out. They completely admitted to it like there was nothing wrong with it, which is crazy, running a PSYOP on your own population.
Well, I mean, not crazy. It's been happening for a very long time.
But it's very important stuff like this does come out. When Shanahan first emerged on the scene as RFK's running mate, as an independent party. I didn't really like her at all. She came from Tech Valley. She seemed like a somewhat reformed liberal, but with very progressive values. I've come to really respect her on her open thinking. On even when we disagree, she can explain why she thinks that way. Completely unauthoritarian. She really wants to expose the medical industry and other things. She's motivated for this because of her child who has autism, and she believes may have got autism through a vaccine. So.
Through a jibby jab. We're not on our UMBLE yet. But I kind of saw this. I haven't looked into it. Does this thread just explain what she says?
Yeah, don't go through the whole thread. I just wanted to kind of highlight the report so people are aware of this report and can go into it if they want.
Do you want me to read a little bit into it? Or?
No, I read the whole thing. I just wanted the top headline.
Okay.
Okay.
Or is it too spicy?
No, it's not too spicy. I just didn't want to go completely into it.
Okay, we might on Monday talk more about it. But speaking of Discord, on not the app, the connection I was trying to make did not work. To go to the next story. Speaking of issues within the parties and maybe splintering and breaking, we see that from Nick Sortor, Dan Bongino will not stay at FBI if Pambande is not removed. Sources close to the deputy director tell Daily Wire. The next step is obvious: fire Pambande. This is not negotiable.
Okay, and now this is big because yesterday I still think this is a sit-up to try to get the Democrats to talk about Epstein and then release politicians' names. They're still not biting on it a lot. They are biting on it a little bit, and we showed that clip yesterday. That being said, if if it's not a setup for the Democrats, I am really good. I'm really glad to see Cash and Bongino sticking up against Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi has been shown to be the weakest link and potentially the most corrupt link. That being said, I don't know, because Donald Trump is really stuck up for, especially on the press conference the other day when she was asked the question about the Epstein files and Trump stepped in and said, why are we still talking about this? The only reason I could see him kind of stepping in for is if they're trying to set up the Democrats. That being said, you don't think that's the case. I'm glad to see Bongino and Cash kind of standing up on their principles, because they did run on the fact that they were going to expose this and expose the deep state.
Do you want me to go a bit into the actual article?
Oh, yeah.
So Bondi or Bongino, Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi have sparred over the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, is threatening to leave the bureau if Attorney General Pam Bondi remains on the job, a source close to Bongino tells the Daily Wire. Remember, take all of those sources say with a grain of salt. It might be Bongino, it might be somebody that just works as a janitor at the FBI, so take it with a grain of salt. Bongino is reportedly furious.
1 second. Yeah, Bongino didn't come into work today, and he said he was going to quit, and Cash Patel followed that up, said if Bongino's gone, I'm gone, so it's either us or Pam Bondi.
Is reportedly furious with Attorney General Pam Bondi over her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, which has led many to believe he could walk away from the job that he took in February. The source close to Bongino said that he's effectively issued an ultimatum saying he won't work alongside Bondi. Bongino left a lucrative career in broadcasting to take the job in the Trump administration, which I was actually surprised by. He was not present at the FBI on Friday after a reported spat with the Attorney General earlier this week over the Epstein situation. The rift between Bongino and Bondi intensified on Wednesday after the Department of Justice announced there was no evidence to prove the child disgusting person Jeffrey Epstein had a client list, had blackmailed powerful people, or had even been unalived. Bondi had promised to reveal major details in the case 5 months ago, when there was no massive revelations to bring forward. The deputy FBI director, who raised questions about Epstein's passing away before he was in the Trump administration, said in May that his review of the file and hours of video recording from Epstein's jail proved that the disgusting person unalived himself.
Okay, yeah, and going into this, there's either going to be a rift in MAGA or it's a fake rift, and they need to get the Democrats to bite on it. So what they're trying to get the Democrats to bite on here and report on in the mainstream media is this rift within MAGA due to the Epstein files. So they want them to talk about specifically about the Epstein files. If they don't, we're going to have to see what goes on here. This could be, again, you believe it's a real rift. I believe this is a setup. We'll have to see. I think if it comes down to Cash Patel and Dan Bongino or Pam Bondi, I think Pam Bondi's gone. Cash Patel and Dan Bongino have grassroots support, and if they leave, a lot of the traditional MAGA support is going to leave the administration with them.
Mm-hmm. And then FBI Director Cash Patel also said that the evidence the Bureau has reviewed shows that Epstein was not unalived.
Yeah, they keep saying that, but we'll see what happens. Pam Bondi has been kind of isolated as the weak link, as the one that's the most corrupt here. So, and this has been going on for a while. I was willing to give her a chance, but it's like 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out here.
And Rafa says, Guy, were you who mentioned something about a supplement that helps against autism? We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, there was 2. There was one originally in Canada. I forgot the name. Rebel News recently did a report in the last 3 months re-highlighting that, and the Canadian government stepping in and attempting to ban it. It was an all-natural supplement. And then there was a report that we did yesterday. Do you remember about that report?
Kind of. I don't remember the name or anything, no.
Why don't we go to, sorry.
I'm going to sneeze. Sorry.
Why don't you go into X and just put through the bookmarks through yesterday? Bring that up.
The thing is, we showed it on RUMBLE because YouTube doesn't like stuff like that, but let me just bring it up.
It's Friday,
quickly.
we can play it. So we did talk about that. It's been known for quite a while that the effects can be reversed. I believe it was a supplement based upon pine needles. not pine
It
needles
works so
themselves,
well.
obviously. It's turned into a medicinal form that's given to kids with autism. It was shown to reverse it in pretty quick succession. And the one in Canada, you had to take it on a more long-term basis, but it was shown to permanently reverse the effects of autism too. These are both separate supplements that were both banned and shown to reverse autism.
Yeah. I'm not going to play it. I'm just bringing it up.
Oh, okay. Why don't you show the...
Yeah, the name is here.
Oh, okay. What's the name?
SURAMIN.
Oh, why don't you show the account?
So this one is from Antonio Tweets, but it's from like 3 different accounts that have redone something with the content. So,
Okay.
but yeah, just I'm guessing Google SURAMIN, that name, or probably on Rumble you'll find more stuff. Rafa says I'll rewatch it. Thanks. Yes. I'm sorry. We can talk more about it on RUMBLE.
Okay, and let's go into the Pentagon.
So from Rod D. Martin, breaking: the Pentagon is becoming the largest shareholder in American rare earth mining in an American rare earth mining company. I can't read. This is one of the biggest moves yet to decouple from China, and it's a Trump administration masterstroke. Here's what just happened and why it matters.
Yeah, this is a public-private partnership, so usually I'm not in favor of these, but when it comes to industries like mining that are absolute a necessity for national security, and they need billions of dollars of investments to kind of get it right, and it needs to be done on a permanent basis, even if you're going to lose money. That's part. I used to work in the mining industry, so part of the problem with it when it's privatized is you need constant development because you're going to need constant minerals. The United States is huge, especially with their Alaska resources. So if the government does get in a partnership here and dumps permanent money into this, they will have permanent metal resources. When you go mining for rare earths and silver, gold, copper, what you do is you basically blow out the inside of the mountain. You bring that up, you put it on a train, you bring that to a facility that's going to break the rocks down to almost a powder form and take out any minerals that are in there. You'll very often from a rare earth mine also get copper, also get silver. So you'll get a lot of different things when you break down these rocks, not just necessarily one. So when they're talking about investing in rare earth minerals, they're going to have byproducts of silver and copper, which are good as well. So if they want to go explore Alaska as well, they're going to need a lot of the red tape taken down. If the government's in bed with the private sector here, they'll take down that red tape so they will be able to get access to those minerals. I think this is huge for the future of the United States. They're trying to compete with China here. You're not necessarily competing with the final product, although you are. America's losing the race at the foundational level, which is mining and energy. And that's easy to fix for them if they're willing to make those investments.
And I do want to read a little bit because it is interesting. So rare earth minerals are in everything: fighter jets, missiles, drones, EVs, phones, AI hardware. China controls over 80% of global production. That's a national security disaster, and Trump just took it head on. Of course, the real question is how generations of American leaders let China become dominant. The U.S. has enough rare earth elements to supply 85% of the needs of the whole world, but Jimmy Carter shut down our refining capabilities.
Well, and we just have to mention here, Alaska has a ton of rare earths and just mining minerals in general. The problem is there has been so much, what do you call it? Green energy? Not green energy.
Sorry, I was reading this.
Protesters?
Climate change activists.
Yeah, so much activists being funded from China and Russia to put up this legislation around Alaska so they're not able to properly tap into that sector. If they do, Alaska alone is almost the size of the United States, so they will be able to get a ton of minerals out of there.
And the Trump Pentagon is investing billions in MP Materials, a U.S. rare earths firm, to build a second domestic magnet plant by 2028. The Department of Defense will take a 15% stake, becoming MP's largest shareholder. Wall Street is backing it. Stock spiked 54% on the news.
Yeah, and if Trump actually sticks to this copper tariff of 50%, which is absolutely massive and would destroy the copper industry for the next 3 or 4 years in the United States. Eventually, they may become self-reliant, especially if they're investing in this sector. If they invest billions into this sector, what that's going to say to the private sector as well, they'll invest billions because the government is now taking down the red tape and investing their own money in this. So you see not only the public government sector, but the private sector that's not embedded with the government invest in these mining camps and things like this all around the United States. This is what they need.
But something I did talk about in my Spanish show just now is that a lot of, especially Democrats, but also a lot of Republican legislators and people that are, high up have a lot of investment into defense materials, let's just call it that way, or the military-industrial complex. And that's what makes them want to keep going and spending on endless wars. So is this a good thing for that?
Yeah, well, for endless wars, they just don't have the raw materials at this point.
But if they do, then what happens?
Yeah, but they need it for technology just as much as they need it for military. Yes. So like they're right now they need it for all sectors, whether it's the military, whether it's AI, whether it's technology, whether it's manufacturing. The United States is losing in the mining war. I used to work in the mining sector. 70% of all mining corporation headquarters are based out of Canada. They're shell companies that are actually owned by Chinese companies, and China is trying to change the legislation of Canada in order to get Chinese workers in there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was a big deal when I was working in there. So okay, let's
go to France. French police raid far-right National Rally headquarters over campaign finance allegations. French police raided Marine Le Pen's National Rally, and we do know they also have now, she got arrested and she got prohibited from running again for, I believe, 6 years or something like that.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time before they start using this word far right, because they've already stopped doing it in debates and in the general culture online. Typically, an insult thrown at somebody that was a traditionalist or conservative would be their far the right. Leftists are no longer saying that in debates or any aspect online. It's very rare now. What you are seeing are traditionalists and conservatives calling liberals libs. And they hate it. They're saying, well, I'm not a lib. I'm an independent. I'm an independent. They don't want to be tagged with that word liberal or lib because it has been so tainted. Far right is no longer a bad word. Lib is. People that are very progressive do not want to be called lib. They want to be called independents, at least on the online space. That dictates what's going to come down into politics next. That's why I do love pop culture so much.
Okay. On Wednesday, over alleged campaign finance violations, prompting RN President Jordan Bardella to decry a new harassment campaign against the far-right party. The raid dealt a fresh blow to the RN, which has been reeling since Le Pen was convicted in March of embezzling EU funds and barred from running in the 2027 election. On Wednesday, the European Court of Human Rights rejected Le Pen's request for it to intervene and suspend her five-year ban. Yeah,
they don't know what to do because, Le Pen's been barred, but somebody else is going to come to the head of that party. Le Pen's going to endorse them. They already have the people on their side. People take the word far right as populist or what the people want, that these people are for the people. This is spreading all across Europe. It's into Canada, even though they lost the last election. We've seen what happened with Trump. Far right is really built a base and taking over. If there was not election interference and things like this happening, most of Europe would be far right by this point.
And we also spoke, we do know France has huge immigration problems right now. And just yesterday, we talked about how they're coming to a deal with the UK and the idiot over there, Keir Starmer, saying that they're going to do a one-for-one trade with migrants, sending one back, one illegal for one legal one, which doesn't solve the problem at all.
It gets you more illegal, or it gets you more immigrants in the long run that you can't get rid of because now they're legalized.
Yes. But we do see all of these far right, which now, thanks to the shifting of the Overton window from, actual far right principles to calling everything far right, and the left moving ever more towards the insanity side of the spectrum. Everything is called far right now, but they're the ones that are called far right that are having, or at least showing, some sort of solution to the huge issues that are going on, not only in the EU, not only in the UK, but everywhere, basically. And I mean, living here in Mexico City, it's very clear that there is nothing equivalent yet of the sort. And the issues that come with that is that you're just recycling one thing for the same mirrored image on the other side.
The far right is really the independent sphere. And this is why the first story we showed tonight was so important. Hillary Clinton wants to control social media and what's going on there, because traditional politics is kind of giving their marching orders from the top down, not really having an open discussion or a debate. They have closed door think tanks that come to these conclusions, and then they give them down to the people, and they think the people should be governed over and not really be a part of that process. The far right, their think tanks are basically on YouTube, and they're having open discussions, open debates, whether you're a libertarian, a liberal, or a conservative. They're kind of battling out these ideas, and as these ideas come to the top, the best idea kind of sticks, and then that's what they go with in their far right politics.
And also, as Agustin Laje in CPAC, which we went to, talked about, there needs to be a new right in places like Latin America, et al., and others, because the traditional conservatism is not actually what's going on, and it's not the actual ideas. Some are, but it's not what's actually being pushed forward by all of these independent media, independent thinkers, independent creators, etc. It's a different kind of thing that also includes classical liberal values.
It's liberalism, conservatism, and libertarianism. And libertarianism having a big effect on the final ideas, because very often, not always, libertarianism does have alternative ideas when debated, will come out on top, but it's a mishmash of all these ideas that do work together cohesively. And this is really great for libertarianism, maybe not to rule the day, but really get their ideas in on a grassroots level.
And with this story about the national rally and their headquarters being raided, I mean, the other side is going to try to do everything they can to stop this from happening, because once again, it's a loss of control and power over the people, and seeing kind of all of their hard work be kind of torched down the drain.
This is just a campaign. This is basically a campaign ad for this party.
Yeah, if they know how to use it.
You raid your headquarters, you ban your main candidate from running. They're probably going to try to ban the next candidate if they gain populist support. These are all campaign ads you can use. Trump used these when they tried to send him to jail. He put the mugshot all over the internet and on T-shirts, and look how that turned out.
Yeah. Quick thing. Stop banging on the table.
Oh, thank you.
Because people can hear it. Rafa says, we are far right. Well, they are far wrong. Yes. And they will continue to be as long as they stick to those. Because, I mean, some classically liberal left ideas are okay. I don't think that they should be implemented, but they're not insane. But what we're seeing now is pure insanity with a lot of the policies and all of the ideas that come out, and they actually implement.
Well, they have abandoned all their traditional policies and things like that for this. I don't know what you would even call what liberalism is in the modern. Yeah, in the modern context, it's something else. They're trying to get into a technocracy with a very much authoritarian vein running through the whole thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of... Okay.
And you can kind of see this through the media.
Yes, and talking about the media, CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Company, this is from Ryan Gerderson. He brings out a lot of stories about Canada, but says, why is CBC Kids putting out videos like this? Some days I'm a girl, some days I'm a boy. Our state-run media needs to be defunded. Now, if you didn't know, the CBC, or the Canadian Broadcasting Company, is essentially subsidized by the Canadian government and asks independent media and other media sources to essentially pay for dying CBC. And let's see why.
And they're funded to the tune of over $1.5 billion a year. Mm-hmm. Just before the last election, they were given an extra $150 million
to talk nice about the Liberals.
And for stuff like this.
Yes.
Love to run and play basketball with my friends. And I like to get dirty. But I am not a boy. I'm a girl. I like to play basketball too. I like to play dress up and wear dresses and put jewelry on. I want my hair to grow down to my toes. I was born a boy, but I am a girl. I like to put jewelry on too. That's so much fun. Some days I'm a girl, some days I'm a boy. I like playing with dolls, and I'm great at playing soccer. Now this is my favorite part. I am loved. I am happy. I am everything in between. My gender does not define who I am. Whoever you are and whoever you choose to be, know that you are beautiful, brave, smart, and awesome. And I think you're awesome too. I love.
And you can see she was reading from a book there, and those books are usually propagated within schools as well, not just on TV.
And it's the kind of things that drag queens read at Drag Queen Story Hour as well.
Which you're not allowed to protest in Canada. If you do, you get arrested. And he said, what, you can't protest something? Yeah, they've made laws you're not allowed to protest against Drag Queen Story Hour.
Yes, and
they have a safe zone around Drag Queen Story Hour where if anybody protests, they're arrested for hate speech.
And I do have some stories about that in our Spanish channel, but in English from a few years ago when I talked a lot about Drag Queen Story Hour, I kind of had them in my crosshairs.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I mean, if they had stopped at, oh, I'm a girl and I like to play soccer and sometimes put on dresses, that would be completely fine by me. Like, yes, there are multiple ways. I mean, women don't always have to follow stereotypes, and boys don't always have to follow stereotypes either. As Billboard Chris says, there are two genders but infinite personalities.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that. You are. So
No, what I was going to say is the fact that the trans insanity focuses so much on these stereotypes and to try to say to little boys that if they sometimes like playing with dolls, that makes them a girl. That's the main issue. The fact that they're changing likes and dislikes and stereotypes, literally gender stereotypes that they were trying to abolish, into excuses to mutilate and castrate children.
yeah,
That's what
I don't think this stuff should be being presented to children. Is the thing. So when you're talking about that, that argument is fine for adults. I don't think it should be presented to children, especially in the means of children's books.
Well, no, but that's not what I said at all. What I'm saying is, if you go, like, if a teacher or somebody goes to a boy that's playing with a doll and says, "Oh, you're playing with a doll. Does that mean you feel like a girl?" And the boy goes, "Yes," that shouldn't immediately take them to gender affirming care, which is mutilation via the medical industrial complex.
Okay.
But I forgot what I was going to say. Also, can we stop telling every single kid that they are, without any evidence, that they are brave, smart, awesome? Because then they start believing that. We have to start being truthful to children and then modeling and teaching them how to actually get there. But by telling them from the start, and this happened around the 90s, which I don't agree with either, and that's why millennials are the way they are, and Gen X are completely different because they were told they were dumb and that they had to improve and get better. But because we started telling millennials and every other generation after that they're awesome, they're brave, they're smart, without them actually doing those things or being actually smart or brave or showing anything for it, now they started believing it, internalizing it, and then one of the most narcissistic generations was brought forth by their idiot parents and their teachers, and this whole positivity that isn't merited. You have to tell and teach kids how to be that way, but not just tell them that that's how they are, because then they'll believe that without doing anything of consequence and without having to make any effort, they already are awesome, brave, smart, whatever. So I say be truthful to children and tell them the truth.
Okay, and we're going to head over to RUMBLE now.
Oh, hold on. I think we have a comment from... Oh, Rafa says, absolutely degenerate. Exactly. And confusing children more and more each day. Again, if you have children or nieces, whatever, if you're around kids and you interact with them, don't just tell them that they're so beautiful and so brave and so smart. If they do something nice for someone else, say, "Oh, you're so kind," but with evidence. Otherwise, they won't really understand actual concepts and be able to grow as human beings.
It's also important to promote gender norms to kids as well, so we can build a regular society again where we're actually reproducing.
Yes,
So,
and where they understand the differences in biology that are real and that aren't just made up, as this woman that was reading the book said. But we're going over to RUMBLE because the rest of our stories are spicy, so we can't talk about them on YouTube. So we'll see you over there, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
and
We'll see you over on RUMBLE.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
Like and subscribe if you haven't. We're
yes.
trying to get to 1,000.
Here on YouTube, yes. So we'll see you over there in a few seconds. I'm ending this one now. Okay, that ended. Let me grab the chat